Hey guys, it is the turn to review Trails of Cold Steel 4. I won't spoil anything in case you haven't played these games, and I'll be covering the usual topics: story, gameplay, graphics, and music. So let's begin. The first thing I gotta say about its story, in case you're someone who enjoys playing games blindly, and also in no particular order, is that Trails of Cold Steel 4 has a before the story section, where the main chapters of the previous games are explained, as well as the main characters and stuff like that, making a kind of friendly way to get to know the story in case you are a newcomer in this series. It can be a bit tiring just reading the whole conflict, but if that is not an issue for you, you can directly start with this game, saving yourself many hours. And in Trails of Cold Steel 4 we kind of obviously start after what happens in the third game. In general, this game has a dark story with interesting twist. It is going to be a heavy reading as it is not fully voice acted, and a good chunk of important stuff is thrown in text. In this particular chapter, as a series, we get to have a better understanding why Rin Schwarzer ended up in this particular state, and how everyone in this world is moving the strings everywhere to start a huge military conflict. And that's the beginning of this hellish crusade, where all the new Class 7 get to work together to bring back their instructor Rin. In retrospective, this game is solid in its story. And being honest, starting from this game and catching up to the whole conflict is quite hard, because there are countless names, situations, several other games that have a bigger or shorter role in the events in this whole mess. It is undeniably an interesting story, but that also makes the game sometimes a bit tedious. It is so much information to catch up. Summarizing this whole mess as a newcomer to the series, I will say it is an 8.5. Definitely a cool story that I enjoy beginning to end, but this game also brings one of the many sins in RPGs: insanely long stories. Well over 120 hours if you play it blindly, and the amount of time you need to wait to just start playing was perhaps a bit too much. For the gameplay, this is the first time where I see this kind of system. It was friendly and quick to catch up. At the beginning of the game it explains pretty well all the mechanics that you need to know. And what I found cool later when you have access to several characters is that there are countless strategies that you can develop, because every move has an area of effect. Every character their own specialization, many attacks, groups that you can make. Oof, just extraordinary, I really enjoy it. And I can tell you that if you are somewhat like a masochist, this game in a higher difficulty is an interesting adventure. One of the many cool things is that you don't have random encounters. Every enemy is shown in the overworld, and regarding these mechanics, it is so friendly that they pretty much let you know if the enemy is going to be a difficult fight, or if you are going to proceed into a, let's call them, point of no return. However, if you're someone who plays blindly and enjoys experimentation, this game can be punishing as heck. For example, this was one of the many fights that took me so freaking long just because I got a bit too curious, but it is also one of its many charms. And there are also some nice mech battles. Some of the negative parts is that it is a quite linear story. You are not really allowed to explore everywhere up until kind of later in the game. And also it throws several random subquests that do not really add something important to the story, or sometimes they are important to get the real ending. This being part of its gameplay, I believe they shouldn't have extended the game so far with this side quest, unless they were perfectly important to explain something relevant within the story. But other than those little details, I enjoy so much these mechanics. To me, its gameplay is a solid 9.5. For the graphics, they aren't that impressive. Even comparing some other Switch games, if I take the game for what it is, I don't have issues with it. I don't really mind this kind of graphics, they are good to me. However, something that kind of killed the mood for me several times were the animations that they tried to achieve with the 3D models. In my opinion, these stories would have been much more engaging if they kept some of these important events with some 2D action, almost like at the beginning, rather than throwing some clunky 3D animations, or just narrating the events. That would have been much more entertaining to me. Other than that, the general graphics of the game, its art, enemies, attacks, and special moves are good, but I cannot overlook the way several important events look. I don't know if I wanted to laugh or just quit the game. It is a 7. And last but not least, its music. It was just beautiful. In normal gameplay, at the beginning it is a bit repetitive, but then the game throws many extraordinary tracks. It gives a superb atmosphere to many situations, like fights, the overworld, sad moments, some remixes that are just gorgeous to the ears. And my love for its soundtrack didn't stop there. Usually these games keep a consistent soundtrack throughout the whole series, one that I had to dig in, and oh boy, I found myself being captivated by its freaking extensive soundtrack in every game. It is not perfect, but it fitted pretty well my love for electronic, classic, orchestral and rock so well. It deserves a 9. Trails of Cold Steel 4 final score is 8.5. Definitely a game that I recommend for those who want to jump into dense stories, filled with details, entertaining gameplay and great tracks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.